Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we dive into the grueling life of a Crusader soldier. A world where warfare is brutal, the heat unbearable, and death always nearby. Picture yourself weighed down by heavy armor under a blistering sun. The air reeks of sweat, rot, and fear. Behind each stone wall lies another ambush. Every sip of water feels stolen from death. The Crusades weren't a grand adventure. They were a slow-burning crucible of exhaustion, illness, and war in the name of faith. Let's be honest, you probably won't survive this. If you're drawn to raw stories from the edge of history, like this video, subscribe and let me know where and when you're watching from in the comments. Dim the lights, let the fan hum like distant war drums. Let's begin. As you step into the world of a Crusader, the first thing that hits you like a slap of cold water is the sheer weight of expectation. Whether you were a nobleman inspired by the promise of eternal salvation, or an unlucky peasant caught in this grand narrative, there's no denying the pull of adventure and the looming sense of peril. You find yourself marching constantly across continents, directions given not by a comforting GPS voice, but by scars in the landscape, stars in a troubled sky, and the anxiety wrapped in each dawn. In this era, religious fervor is both a sword and a shield. The cross is emblazoned boldly on your tunic, proclaiming your purpose to anyone you encounter. Yet beneath this emblem lies the grim reality of a life in turmoil. Disease runs rampant through your camp like an uninvited guest refusing to leave. Imagine sharing space with scores of comrades when the concept of personal hygiene is, well, medieval. Lice are your relatives now, and the scent of lingering sweat is your constant companion. This pungent atmosphere might distract even the noblest knights, leaving you to wonder whether divine intervention might also include a bar of soap. And it's not even all about combat. Surviving the logistics of Crusade life is half the battle. Picture this. You're donning intricately woven chainmail armor, heavier than your average gym equipment. You might think it offers protection, yet find that even as it defends against arrows, it welcomes fatigue. Moving becomes laborious, every step a testament to your endurance or lack thereof. Historians still argue whether knights like you were truly conditioned for such exertion, or if many dropped as quickly as autumn leaves under the relentless sun. But wait, let's not forget the food. As a Crusader, you're regularly served meals that make those TV dinner complaints feel like royalty. The daily rations often consist of stale bread, salted meat, and a lack of consistent vegetables, leaving you dreaming of even the humblest feast. It's said the harsh conditions gave birth to immense camaraderie, though some would argue it was just a shared hunger that kept your motley group together. Then there's the perpetual disorientation. Picture trudging along unnamed paths, where maps are mere sketches and the sun an unreliable guide. The terrain, full of treacherous swamp-like mud or scorching barren stretches, can swallow the weak and turn even the bravest heart wary. Yet absurdly, this disorientation sometimes breeds unplanned friendships, as little more than a grunt and a nod of agreement suffices for mutual recognition of your shared, unfathomably crazy endeavor. Just as you're finding your footing here, conversations drift from mundane to mystical. The campfire tales of yore, weaving gallant sorties and celestial omens, feed into the Crusader mindset, twisting reality with myth. It's ironic how in this world of undeniable hardship, the supernatural seems no stranger than wet boots or aching limbs. So, there you are, immersing yourself in this ancient cycle of travel, skirmish, and survival. Missives from home become rare treasures, lifelines to a world you've half forgotten. Religion may spur your every move, but day by day, the tangible comforts you once dismissed, an evening's calm, fresh linens, become lines etched deeper into your psyche than the grim realities of warfare. As you nestle into this narrative, perhaps with a slight sigh of relief that the day's armor-wearing only happens in imagination, take a moment to appreciate how human tenacity dances with folly. How timeless these experiences seem despite their historical confines. Yes, you might not last a single day as a Crusader, but in delving into their world, maybe you'll weave a little of that rugged spirit into your own knight. Ready to step deeper into this journey? Let's cross the threshold into the heart of why this life may yet allure, even as it bespeaks its inescapable doom. Onwards to unpicking the threads of daily survival in the Crusader world, the tales of anticipation, and times when reality tips uncomfortably close to farce. As you transition into the daily routines of a Crusader, the scent of adventure lingers in the air. Yet almost immediately that excitement is overpowered by the rather earthy smells of the camps, putting your exceptional olfactory powers to the test. If there's one thing you'll notice, it's that each day unfolds in a predictable yet absurdly strenuous symphony. Beginning with the ritual of donning your armor, those crosses on your tunic and armor might symbolize divine protection, but they also become rather effective beacons for trouble. It's as if, by wearing them, you're almost inviting trouble, and not just from human foes. After you've wrestled with the heavy metal and leather, the camp around you stirs to life in predictable chaos. Men cough and groan as they emerge from makeshift tents, adjusting to the unfriendly morning light. A cacophony of clanking armor and orders barked in various dialects fills the air, creating a sort of morning chorus that sounds like it could use a bit of tuning. But let's not rush this morning drama first. A steaming cup of coffee, right? Alas, in this era, your morning buzz involves a different kind of brew altogether. Rations are modestly distributed by military stewards who clearly miss their calling in hospitality. The menu isn't exactly Michelin-starred, but rather a lukewarm gruel that aspires to be porridge. Perhaps you find yourself rediscovering a childlike dread for this less-than-savoury breakfast, wondering whether medieval times couldn't have at least invented a trusty toaster. And amidst this crisp morning routine, there lies the silent enemy disease. As you break fest with your comrades, you'd do well to keep an eye on that coughing fellow 2 rows over, or on the suspicious abundance of rats scuttling nearby, nibbling on crumbs you'd otherwise guard with a greedy pocket. Contagion often spreads faster than news, which keeps everyone on edge. The sickness, as it's often called in hushed tones, travels through bedsides like gossip at court, unwanted and ruthless. Beyond the cross-emblazoned armour, it's in these quiet moments of vulnerability that you grasp just how perilous your situation truly is. Yes, it's easier to befriend those mystical crosses on your armour when acknowledging the everyday hardships within the ranks. They mock you when droplets of sweat pool beneath layers of fabric and metal, a personal sauna during daylight. Yet, despite the stink and sizzle, that symbol provides the camaraderie that mere words rarely capture. In a land where language barriers abound, the cross speaks on your behalf. A silent yet powerful, "We're in this together." But those diseases. Imagine the tension rising when a fellow Crusader speaks of one cure that borders on the ludicrous: crocodile dung ointments. In fact, ancient Egyptian medicine finds curious applications among these ranks, leading to debates about their true efficacy. Historians still argue whether these methods brought more harm than healing, but what can't be denied is the relentless hope they signified, a desperate yearning to cling to life amidst dwindling odds. Yet somewhere in this sea of metal and mud, resolve hardens like steel. This harsh landscape may strain faith and bone, but some inner fire compels you forward. You realize that the bonds you forge with your companions become like a balm, an antidote to isolation. United under the emblem of the cross, you find strength in unity when the dark hours beckon. And let's face it, on those late nights when sleep eludes you, even the most hardened warriors might engage in tales of valor and folly, each story growing taller as night matures. Still, acknowledging the challenges, physical woes, or doubtful rations is akin to embracing an entirely new way of life. A prelude to your unlikely metamorphosis into a soldier, tempered by storms of test and travesty. As the camp disbands and your feet tread uncertain paths again, you may find that, despite this world's brutal nuances, the prospect of each new dawn crossing and all begins to intrigue rather than deter. As you lean into this unending cycle of companionship and hardship, perhaps you're gradually finding your footing. The realities may be grim, but sometimes laughter permeates the denseness of these stories. Remember that one knight who attempted to court a particularly indifferent chicken last night? Or the time when a perfectly placed sneeze sparked 100 swords to draw? Onward, to another day within this medieval tapestry with fresh challenges woven by sunrise. Together with your compatriots, you march forth beneath sun and storm, seen and unseen, bearing those crosses not as burdens but as badges and, perhaps, tiny symbols of resilience in a world that demands all you can muster and more. As the sun begins its slow arc across the sky, Your day as a Crusader transitions into the mundane yet crucial rhythms of recruitment and sustenance. The crackling urgency of morning has been replaced with the steady hum of marching feet, and the kind of chatter that only prolonged proximity can foster. Each day brings a fresh wave of recruits to the ranks, some eager, others swept up in a tide they cannot name, yet all are bound by the same grim purpose and the enduring promise of heaven's reward. Recruitment is not simply a matter of signing one's name on a line. Imagine, instead, being caught in a fervour that feels almost intoxicating. The sermons, the calls to arms, work upon the mind like a spell, evoking images of celestial battles and divine purpose. Whether you're a stalwart noble with lineage to boast, or a simple farmer, untried and bewildered, the magnetism of such calls cannot be easily dismissed. Yet, as each new recruit joins the rank and file, they are introduced to a reality far removed from the impassioned reverie. The day after recruitment is a sobering introduction to military life, so mundane yet demanding that even the most spirited end up checking expectations at the door. There's a kind of surprising democracy among the ranks. Here, every man stands equal in his struggle with those eternal earthly foes, hunger and fatigue. The rations, ever the topic of grudging conversation, impose their own ascetic discipline. The kitchen, if it can be called that, offers a diet that is a lesson in sparse practicality. Bread, hard enough to chisel with, and salted meat make a substantial bit of your meal. You're sharing your bite of reality with those who once slaved over hearths and banquet tables, a potent leveller indeed. As you chew on the leathery jerky, you might catch a whiff of home in its smoky aroma, or just as likely, the reminder of a time when meals didn't double as dental challenges. The balance of sustenance teeters precariously between necessity and shortage. No refrigeration, no fresh produce, nothing but the staples transported across seas and lands, and woe betide any shipment lost to the numerous threats of weather and warfare. Yet, even as fungi and spoil weave into this daily fare, you find shared resilience. You share more than one's mother's stew recipe along the way. Stories of miraculous cheese hauls, echoed in laughter and jest, serve as testament to the collective mindset that develops when options are few. Among the new speeches and reformations comes a sharp realization that food is not simply sustenance. It becomes a sort of currency, a measure of the direction these pilgrimages can take. Hungry men can still march, but their resolve dwindles, and soon the talk tilts toward tales of more decadent suppers rather than eurythmic zeal. Perhaps there's a lesson in patience and perseverance here, taught best by the ancient bread you gnaw like a scholar working through a particularly dense tome. Mornings inevitably lead through afternoons under siege, from routine tasks until the sun sinks lower, casting golden light across the weary-footed soldiers and their loyal steeds. Breaks within this cyclical monotony introduce a new facet, straining sessions for the rash and recalcitrant newest among you. Weapons aren't just handed over. These same hands must learn their craft, or confess their fragility. Among these newfound brothers, everyone suddenly becomes an instructor, for necessity makes experts of even the least experienced in the harsh schooling of warcraft. And therein lies yet another hidden vein of significance. Bonds form, tempered by shared hardship and occasional camaraderie so finely threaded under the weight of critical skills shared. These moments of mock combat not only hone your proficiency, but cement a pact, a steel brotherhood that demands respect and reciprocation. It's a curious juxtaposition. You serve not only the divine, but the tangible needs of those shoulder to shoulder, those who laugh, stumble, and endure beside you every step. As surely as night follows day, conversations flourish as the sun dips lower. Bonds throughout the day have woven an unremarkable yet enduring tapestry. As you gather around a low fire, its flickering light casts more than shadows. It recalls the stories of the day's toil, the victories among the mundanity, the very essence of rudimentary brotherhood born of these simple actions shared. This narrative of recruits and resources is not just one of hardship, but of unheralded development within the Crusades' sprawling pageantry. As the night encases this new cadre of warriors, you retire, knowing that while the day was ordinary, it was uniquely yours, a halting step further, defining a collective mission to honor promises grandiose and sacred. If nothing else, the moments within this communal crucible may yet offer succor when tomorrow's trials beckon anew. Ready now, at least in semblance, for what new revelations await, As you gather yourself for yet another day in the life of a Crusader, what greets you is the familiar, almost comforting clang of metal, a symphony of endurance waiting to test your very limits. This morning ritual includes not only the labor of outfitting oneself in armor, but also the psychological resolve needed to step out into a world that feels as hostile as it sounds. The armor you wear is a masterpiece of medieval craftsmanship, a testament to the skillful hands that fashioned it. Yet it feels as though each piece was designed not just to protect you, but to weigh you down, reminding you at every move of the gravity of your mission. Steel plates and chainmail juxtaposed with sections of intricate leatherwork, all conspiring against straightforward mobility. Every breath you take within this portable forge is a careful negotiation of space and intent. As you buckle the last strap, you appreciate the security it represents, even as the relentless pressure hints at both the physical and metaphoric burdens you'll shoulder today. The sun, beginning its lazy ascent, greets you, just as it does every morning, casting long shadows across the sleeping camp. Each footfall kicks up clouds of dust, tiny ghosts of yesterday's roads. Picture yourself slipping those first steps into practiced memory, with muscles straining against tiredness and gears groaning protest when summoned to action. True, this mailed coat of clamour might transform most into stumblers, yet the veterans among you have learned to sway and shift with a practiced grace, knights leading a celestial dance against gravity. Amidst this metallic masquerade, exhaustion becomes your unsworn comrade. Every Crusader, whether seasoned warrior or naive squire, grapples with the relentless underneath twinge of fatigue, so pervasive that it becomes a backdrop to each task. It's more than a bodily ache, it seeps into the corners of your mind, turning intelligence into instinct, dreams into dirt, and ambitions into action, slogged down by this cumbersome armor. Perhaps you found yourself in lighter moments exaggerating stories of your daily walks, paralleling them to fantastical journeys of far-off lands, as though laughter itself might lighten your stride. Alongside humour, desperate necessity births novel solutions. When swathes of men parade in the sun-soaked landscape, chafing under the oppressive heat, creativity takes flight. Historians still argue whether the extra layers found within some armor designs were practical adaptations or simple hearsay. What's not contested is the ingenuity of fellow Crusaders, who'd rub themselves down with any concoction of salves and herbs rumoured about camps as good luck potions, angling towards efficacy. Never mind if they stick more man than armour. It's these quirky rituals and miraculous remedies that forge unforgettable memories and comradeship's unseen bonds. Treks across rugged terrain demand more than just physical resilience. They test mental fortitude with every arduous breath and grueling mile. Chalices filled with sweat are the only libations offered, but the promise of divine favour and loftier purpose motivates each step forward. In such conditions, what can a mere mortal do but persevere? Pushing boundaries beyond reason or physical limits, your psyche transforms, steadily strengthened, by the realization that, weighty as it is, this armour becomes a part of you, an extension born of necessity. These daily struggles are punctuated by moments of oddity and distraction. Imagine a scene where, amid a quarry-turned-temporary encampment, a knight sets forth in the ever-serious quest to determine if stone weighs more than storytelling. Fellow soldiers throw down bets of bread and wine. Such is the meaningful levity that juxtaposes with solemn duty. These mock adventures tease smiles from the sternest lips, masking weariness with the rich tapestry of shared experience. Finally, as you end another segment of your march, there's a strange satisfaction in the harmony of struggle and success. A whisper of gratification echoing with every burnt muscle and aching limb, dripped from the tired shell of armour come night, you'll gaze upon the stars with wonder, exhaustion mingling with a satisfaction known only to those who tread upon the precipice of endurance daily. And so, each cross-clad dawn rises, another act in the human drama played among saints and shields. Despite it all, as each day draws to a close, you inevitably find yourself in quiet reflection, a humble recognition of survival, not easily won, and all the more valued. This delicate dance between ceaseless exertion and the fleeting rewards of relief becomes just another thread in the vibrant weave that colours a Crusader's life, as vibrant as the flaming skies settling down onto the horizon. March onwards, brace yourself against coming challenges, and continue the never-ending pursuit of a brighter morrow, beneath the armor that will either shelter or strain you, with both outcomes knitting tightly into the narrative tapestry of this crusading life. As the sun arcs higher in the sky, casting relentless heat onto your already burdened shoulders, you find yourself trudging along a well-worn path that seems to disappear into the horizon. Today's journey promises familiar hardships, with treacherous terrain being a regular companion to your pilgrimage. Embrace the feeling of sun-baked dust clinging to your boots, an unintentional keepsake from this endless string of marching days. Imagine yourself in a landscape marked by hardship, where every rocky incline is a subtle reminder of nature's indifferent omnipotence. Paths carved from wilderness provide as much misdirection as guidance, leaving you to rely on little more than the innate compass of intuition and the questionable wisdom of fragmented maps. Losing your way here isn't a mistake, it's almost a tradition. The lack of GPS technology means every journey is an exercise in educated guesses and recalculations. Perhaps one of your companions, boasting a reputation of knowing these parts, confidently gestures toward a distant landmark. In reality, you suspect he's as clueless as the rest, but desperate to reclaim some semblance of certainty amid the chaos. There's a unique humor in watching this spectacle, an impromptu game of which way is west, caused by a sun that refuses to narrate its heavenly course. Each step taken on this uneven expanse requires the balance of an acrobat, as soft earth gives way underfoot or jagged rocks threaten to turn your ankle. Despite their appearances, these deceptive trails are well-traveled, markers in an intricate maze that spans realms both seen and unseen. Here, mirages shimmer in the heat, painting dreams of verdant oases just out of reach, fooling even the keenest instincts. As midday approaches, the prospect of navigation begins to feel more like an endless lesson in patience. You stumble upon a fork, literally and figuratively. Which should you trust? The instinct echoing from the pit of your stomach, the one that whispers left? Or the acquired knowledge pointing to the now doubly inviting right? Perhaps it's all a coin toss, masquerading as higher reasoning. Your caravan, bound in brotherhood and frustration, halts for a brief respite beneath a rare copse of trees. A beautifully misplaced oasis, offering a cool, shady reprieve. Here, flasks of tepid water are passed like sacred chalices among friends, each sip a guarded secret in this shared ritual of survival. Conversation flickers to life, a welcome contrast to the silent drudgery of noon. Resting within this pocket of nature, you start to appreciate the rare serenity found off the battlefield. During these interludes, questions of profound importance arise. Is it better to stumble upon an unexpected spring or avoid a snake pit altogether? Which landmark is more trustworthy, the craggy old oak that leans so precariously, or the faint river seen through filtered leaves? Scholars and sages might erroneously assume strategy detains the sharpest minds here. Instead, it's these simple existential contemplations that occupy the good-natured discourse. However, a perpetual breeze of uncertainty wafts through your musings, propelling you once again into motion. Over every hill rises the spectre of discovery. A village, a shrine, or perhaps an adversary. Locals, too, become the unpredictable factor, as communication veers wildly between pointed gestures, animated miming, and the occasional ludicrous theatrical production just to convey intentions. Indeed, these linguistic misadventures transform your journey into an evolving tale, an ever-growing canyon of misunderstandings. Ah, the stories you'd tell if you ever reach home. Like that time when a simple request for chickens led to an accidental barter for their wise old goat. Such episodes educate as much as they amuse, carving intricate paths of cultural intertwining that, strangely enough, leave not just knowledge in their wake but a hearty laughter that bolsters flagging spirits. In these moments, every stone and signpost becomes a player's cue in this epic of uncertainty, while exile and home swirl in the same dust cloud. You travel not simply for conquest, but with a tinge of curiosity for the unknown, in a tale where each turn of path might conceal legend or legacy. With every faltering step and accidental tendency towards the wrong direction, you choose to persevere. True, you wouldn't wish to remain lost eternally within this confounding wilderness, but the intrigue of what lies ahead teases perspective into mystery. You're reminded that sometimes the journey itself breathes life into the destination, and into you. Hold on to this resilience through each pathway step, and release expectation into the gentle embrace of the air around. For sometimes in the wandering, you touch upon revelations, and the unknown leads not to peril, but unexpected promise. So onward, step assuredly forward into the yet-to-be-discovered horizon, emboldened in spirit as the terrain unfolds its next dilemma or delight. With the sun a relentless overseer as you forge onward, the Crusader's journey continues to unfold in a tapestry of both adventure and uncertainty. As you march, there is a constant undercurrent of communication, an exchange of information and ideas mediated by the kaleidoscope of languages present in this diverse army. Each tongue carries the subtle lilt of its homeland, a reminder that you're part of a melting pot of cultures, bound by a singular divine mission. It's here, amidst the din of different dialects, that you find yourself in a perpetual state of guessing. The Crusader army is a cacophony of accents, where Norman French collides with English, split by the deep intonations of German and the romantic flow of Italian. Even when hanging on to common Latin phrases, the differences in pronunciation spark more misunderstanding than clarity, leaving everyone playing an unending game of medieval charades. Surely some of history's iffy decisions can be attributed to confusing fort with forte. Imagine trying to impart a critical strategy in the heat of a skirmish only to realize the subtlety of your language doesn't translate. Historians still argue whether the reason for some infamous battle failures was simply due to poorly translated orders, the medieval version of the ancient game of telephone gone awry. This multiplicity of tongues might have produced moments of sublime poetic beauty, if only they weren't interspersed with comical faux pas, like requesting an axe and receiving an ox. The challenges deepen as you venture into foreign territories, meeting locals grouped around campfires that flicker like a vigil against the unfamiliar. Here, gestures leap to the fore, a universal language bridging gaps when words falter. You may find yourself mimicking a bow's drawstring action to convey the need for archers, while simultaneously trying to ignore the facepalm gestures exchanged between amused allies. This dance of understanding is delicate yet resilient, peppered with moments when misunderstanding leads to laughter rather than disaster. In the night, as a canopy of stars guides your weary feet to rest, you might find yourself amidst storytelling circles, where shared tales bind disparate tongues into a shared narrative. Around you, words flow in a symphonic babble, stories stretching across time and space, each harrowing detail punctuated by universal gasps or laughter. The barriers of language dissipate, and momentarily, united not by speech but by silence, you find a deep, shared understanding. A realization that all tongue-tied souls feel the same pull of destiny. These exchanges, equal parts frustrating and enlightening, color the tapestry of Crusader life vibrant. They transform mundane marching into a canvas of shared human experience, where phrases and gestures exchanged become lasting impressions of connection. It's an encounter with diversity forged through struggle and serendipity, paving roads to deeper connections that rise above the limits of mere words. Yet not all interactions sustain a golden glow. There's an underlying tension at times, a low growl of misunderstanding that can quickly spiral. Once it led to an exuberant young Crusader inadvertently asking for a chicken's blessings instead of a blessing on their meal. An honest mistake, but one that saw feathers flying in uproarious delight. And still, through the babble, the human need to communicate triumphs. As you walk this path of linguistic discovery, it dawns on you that these interactions, strained and uplifting in equal measure, paint the Crusader campaign with a unique vibrancy. The moments when word and gesture meet become fleeting echoes of civilization, trading familiarity for expansion. Alongside camaraderie, your efforts at communication solidify bonds of fellowship across borders previously unknown, an unspoken understanding building bridges over the chasm of war. It becomes a solemn reminder that at the heart of this mission lies not just divine purpose, but a shared humanity that seeks understanding, even in the fiercest shadows of conflict. So, step ahead, embracing this intricate tapestry of language and laughter. March with the chorus of companions at your side, where every stumble becomes rhythm, in a dance of collective determination, weaving a narrative that outpaces words and holds time at bay. Let each stride serve as a reminder of how even tangled tongues can tighten the bonds that unite us all under the canopy of distant stars. As the rhythm of marching grows more methodical, day by unyielding day, you inevitably face the fragility of human health and the enigmatic realm of medieval medicine. Here in the Crusader camps, amidst the hustle and clangor, the spectre of illness looms large, an uninvited guest with a penchant for unpredictability. When your very existence rides on the edge of a sword, where every cough might be omen-laden, it's the healers who become both priests and prophets, guiding you through the unknown. Primitive medicine at this time is as much about faith as it is about herbs and potions. Imagine yourself seeking aid from a medic whose arsenal consists of jars filled with odd concoctions and a heart full of conviction. The treatments you endure are as cryptic as the maladies they aim to cure. Suffer a headache and you might be blessed with a leeching session, or for the truly adventurous, a dash of powdered unicorn horn rum among these ranks to cure anything from headaches to heartbreaks. Historians still argue whether these remedies actually ever succeeded beyond the placebo effect. Each sickbed is a microcosmic spiritual battlefield where bodily ailment meets celestial intervention. Superstition thrives where medical knowledge falters, and you witness firsthand how the lines between faith and science blur. Even the most dubious relics, said to possess healing powers, are revered in ways that put modern medical pursuits to task. Your afflictions may welcome the prayers of multiple saints, and though some swear by their efficacy, others believe you might find cause to question while grimacing into another mysterious tincture. Amid this panacea of potently pungent brews, there's a witch doctor-like aura around those capable of extracting heal from harm's dust. Their encyclopedic knowledge of local flora sage, rosemary, and anise mingled with less recognized finds becomes your lifeline. Whispers that circulate camp suggest certain remedies from far-off lands have curative balms like no other, while tales of miraculous recoveries served over a simmering cauldron spawn equal parts reverence and skepticism. Even as bodily afflictions take their toll, there's a collective burden greater than the sum of its parts. The ominous presence of mental strain, war's silent scourge shadowing each step. The psychological scars inflicted by unyielding warfare necessitate healing beyond what the material world offers. Stories abound in camp legends of crusaders driven to the brink by invisible weight. Some turn to devout rituals invoking divine protection, while others find respite in tales that weave both loss and victory into a fabric of human resilience. Embedded within this healing tapestry is the powerful talisman you wear, a small ensemble of belief akin to a keepsake, the guidance offered by spiritual leaders and friars close at hand. Here's where belief straddles mysticism, and through such devotion blooms a serene, if not surprisingly effective detergent to malady faith, embodied in rituals that cleanse the psyche when herbal baths fail. The camaraderie of this dark place should not be underestimated. From banter shields sewn with wit, to shaman-like storytelling defining another day of sun-washed struggle, a certain levity cuts through the blanket of despair. The shared struggle against unseen foes brings a brotherhood that comforts as much as any Angel King's crusade. You emerge, day by day, indelibly marked by this communal survival. Each ailment and remedy a thread intricately woven into your journey. Though primitive, these medical practices breathe life into the lore of the Crusades, deepening an appreciation for the humanity that thrived amid drudgery. Night falls, casting its gentle balm over bodies and hearts ever driven to brave yet another sunrise's peril. As you prepare for rest, the wisdom of ages past lingers in your mind. Health is an ephemeral grace, the world of remedies a continuum where myth, mystery, and medicine blur into a shared human endeavor. It binds you to those around, grounded in an ancient cycle of suffering and solace that steels you for the trials yet to come. So in this journey, accept the healing offered, carry with you the stories shared, and as morning unfolds anew, let gratitude amid the struggle resonate through each beat of your determined heart. What lies ahead is a path continued, an odyssey through a world where body and spirit interlace, demanding both fortitude and faith with every step. As the landscape of your crusading life unfurls day by day, you come to realize that not all challenges emerge from the ranks of your declared adversaries. In the shifting sands of allegiance and loyalty, unreliable allies and potential betrayals become as much a part of your reality as armor and arms. These unsteady pacts are forged not merely by common goals, but are bound by the frothy brew of politics, necessity, and, at times, simple convenience. Picture yourself amidst this kaleidoscope of alliances, united with warriors from diverse realms, even some converted local factions, each led by leaders whose tongues are as sharp as their swords. The task of steering these alliances is an intricate dance, where diplomacy wears heavy boots and walks a tightrope along the rift of discord. Within your ranks travel varied ambitions and ideologies, forming a complex mosaic of both allies and competitors. Loyalty, though often professed as a virtue, becomes a commodity of sorts, bartered and traded with the alacrity of a medieval marketplace. Welcome to a world where the handshake is often accompanied by crossed fingers, and promises meld with compromise more fluidly than water morphs to ice. Historians still argue whether deceit was a tool or simply an unfortunate byproduct of the times, but one thing remains indisputable. In this world, every smile must be met with equal doses of trust and skepticism. Consider your cadre of comrades, those who camp and march beside you, men bound by an oath ostensibly stronger than blood. Yet among these lies a secret economy of espionage, where whispered words travel quicker than arrows. Trusting too deeply can be folly, when motives shrouded by secrecy surface like unexpected whirlpools, ready to catch the unguarded. Such incognito machinations might be discovered by their ripple effects. Perhaps a siege strategy leaked leads to a thwarted effort, or a planned escape turns into a trap. The murmur of intrigue is as palpable as that of the blacksmith's forge within camp confines. To survive requires as much guile as godliness, a savvy evocation of wisdom that carries you across the unsteady waters of shifting allegiances. Yet, it's not all deception and disappointment. Unlikely friendships blossom through the cracks of war-worn siege. Picture the juxtaposition of a knight from the rolling English hills engaging in animated conversation with a Saracen-turned-ally, both resting their swords by firesides, their laughter intermixed, a testament to camaraderie surviving the harshest battlefields. Despite the thin veneer of suspicion, there surfaces an unspoken understanding among those who share the siege's toiler bond, fortified with a blend of respect and the occasional shared jest. Your mission becomes a study in discretion, measuring when to forge new links in this human chain of allegiance and when to shield your hand. Guidance comes not merely from the hierarchy of knights and regents, but from your own experiences, each new engagement a lesson in layered trust. Among alliances rests the possible spectre of betrayal's most nefarious whisper, a tale as old as time. Sometimes it's the command of a cardinal's robe or the quiet pen of a scribe who spins new stories, declaring foes out of friends. Such acts of treachery could pivot entire campaigns, altering the course faithfully charted, while the ever-turning wheel of fortune insists on its own agenda. But still, you soldier on, caught between the ideals that first sparked your crusade spirit and the raw reality world where trust must often be rationed like your precious bread. This duality of faith and pragmatism becomes your constant companion, fueling your resolve to discern the genuine from the guise. As dusk settles, the campfire again frames scenes of storytelling. Men laugh and jest in an unspoken ceasefire from the dissonance outside, binding you all in the quiet fellowship of shared experience against tremors of uncertainty. Each voice carries a history, each tale a web spun from truth and embellishment, seeking solace amidst the chaos of fractured alliances. Prepare now to rest, recollect your strength, for the challenge is anew. The battles waged are fought not merely beyond these sentry lines, but within the human heart, tested by friendships forged and broken under the desert skies, and so you sleep, knowing each day forward bears the potential of realignment along the precarious road of uncertain allegiances, a journey where trust earned is a victory all its own. With the dawn, pave the path ahead, one forged by the fusion of fate and fortitude. As the first light of dawn stretches across the horizon, you are met once more with the relentless trials that accompany Crusader life. Yet another day emerges, and with it the formidable forces of Mother Nature herself. Weather, often unpredictable and unforgiving, shapes the very fabric of your journey, presenting challenges that rival even the toughest of battles. Sandstorms, sudden downpours, and oppressive heat become potent adversaries as you march onward, bound for glory. In the Holy Land, weather can prove as erratic as a merchant's whim. One moment the sky may cradle you with the delicate embrace of a gentle breeze, only to turn its back the very next, unleashing a torrent of ferocity. Imagine yourself eyes squinted against the biting sting of a sandstorm that rises seemingly from nowhere, erasing familiar landmarks and blurring the line between heaven and earth. The sand infiltrates your every garment, layers of grit coalescing into an irritating second skin. It's a peculiar kind of discomfort, as if the terrain itself is conspiring to thwart your divine mission. Weather poses many threats, but perhaps none more pervasive than the brooding heat, and its sun-chased shadows. As the orb rides high in the heavens, sunshine beats down with such ferocity that it tests both armor and resolve. You learn quickly that shade is a precious commodity, to be coveted as fiercely as the Holy Grail itself. Under such scorching conditions, sweat flows freely, a river of exertion mingling with determination. And here, the irony of your carefully crafted armor reveals itself. It becomes a furnace, trapping every wisp of heat that dares enter. Hydration becomes a crucial pursuit, each creek an oasis, a siren from afar, calling to parched travelers like an ancient mirage. It's no exaggeration to suggest that some battles' outcomes have hinged on access to water, liquid life, whose value surpasses any coinage of the realm. Dehydration and sunstroke shadow your every step, ever waiting to strike at those who fail to respect the sun's sway. But relent not, for rain too holds surprises. Blinding downpours transform dry terrain into quagmires, incrementing each footfall with thick slicks of mud, threatening to embrace the unwary with sticky intent. Once familiar paths yield to slippery chaos, rendering even the stalwart sure-footedness of your mount an unpredictable traitor. You step cautiously, painfully educated once again in nature's capricious presence, a reminder that beneath your divine purpose, it's often the terrestrial challenges that demand ingenuity and resolve. The seasons, too, leave their indelible mark upon your odyssey. While summer blisters with an intensity that scorches earth and man alike, winter cloaks the land in a deceptive tranquility. Cooler temperatures might offer reprieve, yet even they conspire to twist your campaigns with sudden frosts and chilling winds that cut through threadbare tunics, threatening fever amidst your ranks. And as if the celestial drama weren't enough, there are rumors whispered around campfires of portents, nebulous stars vanishing behind veils of cloud, and eclipses swallowed by superstition. For some, these phenomena speak omen-like, dissuading even the bravest hearts. In their wake, a curious intensity voices uncertainty, sparking debates over nature's true intent, teasing apart prophecy from science. In quieter moments, these seasonal and solar phenomena inspire storytelling, filling the spaces between battles with tales spun from observation and awe. Imagine men from across lands, weaving stories grounded in their own heritage, finding kinship in shared experiences, now gifted symbolically to recovering hearths. Laughter and learning intermingle around evening embers, softening the scars etched by sun, storm, and flood alike. Despite these trials, your tenacity persists. Your journey, marked with weather's trials, reminds you that no holy path was meant to be easy, that turning obstacles into stepping stones is as much a part of the Crusader legacy as captured fortresses. Each shaped by the sky's rhythms, the march becomes a tale of resilience nestled comfortably alongside history and myth. With each sunrise, steel yourself against the weather's whim, channeling its challenges into the next chapter of your storied pilgrimage. The bond shed under sun and storm shape you as sure as any chisel. Prepared now, once more into the expanse with eyes lifted, both vigilant for threats and awed by the beauty revealed. With gratitude and grit, weave sunlight and shadow into your tapestry, and step assuredly ever onward. As the sun tips toward its zenith, casting shadows that stretch like lazy sentinels across the rugged landscape, your attention shifts to a central aspect of the Crusader experience: the daunting and often exasperating art of siege warfare. This drawn-out spectacle of strategy and endurance demands both patience and an array of tactics, each designed to outlast the fortifications of formidable adversaries. In this theatre, time can be more brutal than any weapon, and you may find that the fiercest opponent is not always the one brandishing a sword. Imagine standing before the towering walls of a fortress, a seemingly invincible bastion of stone and mortar. Here, under the relentless gaze of guards, you and your fellow Crusaders settle in for what promises to be an extended engagement. The siege, in all its patient complexity, becomes an elaborate chess match, with each side hoping to outmaneuver or outlast the other. The tension is palpable, a daily engagement that transforms the very act of waiting into both a strategy and a psychological test. Preparing for a siege is a masterful choreography, beginning with the construction of encampments that bristle with the energy of anticipation. Tools and timber are raised like fragile scaffolding around ambition. Trebuchets stand poised, boulders carefully arrayed beside them as though poised for auspicious delivery. Historians still argue whether it was the clashing clash of steel or the silent testimony of catapults that greatest demoralized defenders, rendering stone to skepticism. As hours turn into days, the besieging army becomes embroiled in routine. A repeated symphony of fetch and carry, strategies whispered in close counsel and methodical bombardment. Your role may range from maintaining logistics to performing in the carefully orchestrated chaos aimed at breaching walls. Each task, however mundane, contributes to the relentless machine of war, the ultimate goal being to wrest exhaustion from prideful defenders. Inside the walls, the defenders endure their own version of the divine struggle. For them, the siege symbolizes resilience woven from desperation, hope mingled with calculated defiance. Stories from past conquests echo through stones, and for those within, each day spent rationing supplies and bolstering defenses is a testament to both survival and eventual capitulation. Between the battering of walls and the seeking of solace, the atmosphere is charged, both armies unaware of how the next exploit might twist fortunes. Trebuchet boulders sail through the air with a poetry of their own, their trajectories unfurling a grim ballet of precision and devastation. Ironically, these chunks of stone and masonry invoke the reluctant artistry in war, unveiling interconnected tapestries with every impact. When siege machines remain idle, subtler games unfold, such as the tunneling tactic of undermining enemy walls by unseen hands. Whispered tales tell of sappers digging onwards beneath foundations, the silent chorus of pickaxe and shovel casting conspiratorial shadows long and deep, a clock ticking against stone's eternal patience. It's a slow yet venerable effort, akin to unravelling a tapestry one thread at a time. Patience wears thin for both the besiegers and besieged, and the tale edges toward its eventual resolution. For the army outside, waiting festers into a strategic waltz, mental fortitude stretched taut against the drumbeat of days unchecked. Among siege lines, close-knit bonds form quietly, toughened by the bleak humour that flowers in misfortune. You'll catch snippets of laughter during dusk watch, the weary banter swirling like fireflies in the night, illuminating paths back to normalcy. Then there are moments when the siege turns comedic despite its grim undertones. Imagine the futile effort of hurling livestock into castle keeps, the poor beasts' bewilderment only adding layers of surreal comedy to an otherwise ruinous choreography. Such scenes serve as reminders of the quirks in human nature, where the extraordinary and absurd can coexist. Over time, the pressures, and perhaps a novel trick or two, lead either to breach or negotiation. Smoke lifted from conquered walls signals a turning point, the fortress now gracing different banners, but not without cost. To the victors, the spoils, and yet among the unravelling camaraderie, are lessons inscribed in stone, insight into resilience and humanity in its many shades. As the siege runs its course, an air of transition settles upon the campaign. The fortress, reduced or relented, becomes part of your collective memory, its secrets interwoven among tales stretched into the evening's storytelling. These memories, both shared and singular, create another layer in the chronicled existence of a Crusader. You ready for another day? The shadows of siege lines left behind as roads to destiny unfurl once more. Hold your tales close, their lessons a reminder of the often protracted yet steadfast course that defines courage, a path drawn between walls both breached and built anew. With spirits steady, march ahead towards the next chapter of this storied journey. As you march forward, the air thick with anticipation and the metallic tang of adventure, another facet of Crusader life emerges to shape your understanding of this grand undertaking, the intricate web of morale and military politics. These threads, though often invisible, weave a substantial impact on the very course of your campaign. You find that the political currents within the Crusader ranks can be as fierce and volatile as those that rage on the battlefield itself. From dawn's first light, you become attuned to the subtle machinations that ripple through the ranks, alongside command orders. Leadership within this multifaceted army is a complex tapestry, a blend of nobles and clergy, knights and commoners, each bringing their own agendas and egos to the table. Imagine following a commander who balances martial skill with the delicate art of diplomacy, each decision swayed by alliances as fragile as the morning mist. Morale, while intangible, becomes a lifeline. When your days stretch into weeks and the sun rises and sets against a backdrop of uncertainty, The staying power of an army is often predicated on the moods and motivations of its men. To maintain high spirits, commanders employ a myriad of strategies, from organizing grand parades to awarding titles, and even indulging in storytelling nights, where warriors recount tales of valor and laughter echoes despite the looming shadow of conflict. These ruses serve not only to rally the troops, but also to cement the leaders' positions within the complex hierarchy. Beneath every well-rehearsed speech and public display of unity lies a layer of political maneuvering, subtle yet significant. Leaders seek the approval of clergy and knights, and must often appease the multitude of voices clamouring for influence and attention. Despite their noble origins, even the grandest of knights might find themselves entangled in backroom deals to curry favour with those who hold the reins of military power. The intricate dance of military politics extends beyond internal rank and file. It reaches outward to engage with local rulers and potential allies. Forming these alliances requires tact and negotiation, filled with promises that are as delicate as the paper upon which they are written. It's a diplomatic challenge as much as a martial one, urging leaders to walk the razor's edge between benefactor and betrayer. These complexities are often spun into intrigue-filled stories whispered around campfires at night. Historians still argue whether these tales exaggerated the actual machinations, but what they can't deny is the flair with which such narratives sketched the essence of human ambition and folly. Cunning plots and gallant follies dance on the lips of men who, like you, find both fascination and warm camaraderie in these stories' retellings. And yet, for all the manoeuvring and manipulation, morale sails turbulent seas. There are times when hope wanes, composed of whispering winds that slyly seep through the camp. Perhaps a campaign falters, or a long-awaited victory comes with heavy tolls. It's during these moments that the glue of shared humanity holds fast. Turn your gaze towards stalwart leaders who rise to spark strength amidst despair, their quiet charisma outshining wealth in commanding hearts united not by creed but sheer willpower. You encounter leaders who master the art of connecting with their men, instilling a sense of purpose that becomes the shared beating heart of the Crusader endeavour. The genuine respect these figures earn transcends ranks, cementing bonds that prove stronger than the fleeting whims of politics. It's a powerful alchemy, solidifying loyalty and igniting the flame of endurance even amidst the darkest times. Within this web of morale and politics, humour often becomes a forgotten yet fervent weapon. The parodies woven through the camp-teasing skits that mimic known leaders or poke fun at blunders that carry on the tradition of laughter as relief and morale booster, a chance to shield souls against the harsh light of daily reality. As night dwindles into dawn, heralding another day of crusading life defined by unpredictable journeys, political gamesmanship continues to toe its invisible line. In this complex environment of shifting allegiances and delicate balances, survival owes as much to wit and will as to sword and shield. Embrace its challenges as part of the greater narrative, the intertwining of morale, spirit, and politics cunning, etched into the Crusader saga. In the end, upon this ever-expanding canvas, you note how beautifully bizarre it is, this attempt to resolve questions of power and purpose within a camp that stands at the crossroads of faith and conquest. For every political gambit that holds sway or morale bolster kindled amid setbacks, a Crusader tale is born anew, awaiting its retelling in the hushed glow of firelight. So prepare your spirit for the morrow, as the path forward beckons with tales yet untold, filled with both splendour and trepidation, reminding you what it means to march in true Crusader fashion. As the sun climbs toward its zenith, bathing the landscape in its unyielding glare, thoughts inevitably turn to water, a resource as precious as gold and as essential as any sword. In this arid land, where the sun reigns supreme, your days on this crusade are marked not just by the tangible threats of battle, but by the ever-present concern over water supply and the ebb and flow of thirst as a constant companion. Imagine the sensation of the desert heat baking into the skin of your armour, turning it into an oven that saps your strength with every passing hour. The dusty air clings to your throat, each breath a reminder of your body's unyielding demand for hydration. In this unforgiving climate, the adage, "water is life," takes on such urgent clarity that it echoes through every thought, every action. Amidst the endless march, the quest for water becomes an undercurrent that shapes the Crusader experience, silently dictating the routes chosen and the urgency within the commands barked by leaders. It's an imperative woven into the fabric of strategy, Securing reliable sources of water becomes as critical as seizing fortresses or engaging in battle. As your supply dwindles, so too does the resolve of even the bravest, swallowed by the spectre of dehydration. Water access turns every scene of your journey into a calculated chess game. Rivers are mapped like boundaries, springs cherished as rare jewels hidden within the desert's unyielding grasp. Negotiations sometimes turn upon promises of free-flowing life from captured wells, the very essence of diplomacy, not merely a bargaining chip, but liquid salvation for an entire army. Yet even in times of bounty, the chance of poison lurks a well-timed descent into disaster. The threat of tainted water is as real as an ambush, its insidiousness capable of incapacitating ranks or felling knights more surely than a spike-linked pit. Stories circulate through the camp of past expeditions undone by strategically poisoned cisterns, a haunting reminder of the lengths taken to guard this crucial resource. In this struggle against thirst, resourcefulness and ingenuity often hold sway over hardship. The pursuit of creative solutions leads some Crusaders to echo the actions of their forebears, experimenting with varied materials in a quest for purification. Animal skins or layered linen strive to double as makeshift filters, while the more adventuresome learn to harvest dew, evidenced in the new strategy shared between fighting men under Knight's embrace. Yet, amidst this grim necessity, there is the occasional mirthful recollection of moments when desperation led to unexpected hilarity, tales of bold knights attempting to barter with local traders for yetis gnawing hunger, only to find themselves charmingly confused by currency exchange rates involving saffron and silk, and smiles where once thirst had gripped tight. Remember, too, the colourful encounter where a well disguised as divine intervention was uncovered to be nothing more than exceptional showmanship, as a would-be miracle turned out to be a clever redirection of a neighbouring stream. In such moments the human spirit prevails, even over the basest of needs. However, not all solutions are improvisational. Organised water distribution becomes crucial, an operation of subtlety and determination, commanded by roles known as water-bearers. These individuals bring not just the physical refreshment, but morale, the coolness of aquifers steeped into human form. The ripple effect of their presence is profound. A shared smile over a ladle of water refreshes more than just flesh. Its soothing tendrils stretch beyond dehydration, reaching into the soul. As sunset approaches and shadows stretch long across this parched land, the struggle for water weaves itself into the larger narrative at the heart of Crusader life. Just as warriors clash under banners, so too does this daily challenge shape the contours of your existence. It stands as a testament to both the fragility of the human condition and the unyielding spirit that perseveres, despite elemental adversity. With each sip from your flask, you forge a silent covenant with the land, a compact between humanity and nature that underscores the quest's stakes. So, as the encampment settles for another night, remember the lessons learned in this interplay of need and resilience. May your heartily replenished resolve carry forward, urging you onward through desert days, imbued with the fortitude and wisdom gleaned from the encounter between strength and scarcity, bound eternally to the rhythm of your Crusader journey. As daylight yields to another chapter on the Crusader journey, your senses become attuned to the environment's multifaceted trials. Yet while the human adversary is well anticipated, and the struggle against elements is ongoing, there's another factor at play. Wildlife. Here amidst unfamiliar lands, the grizzled landscape brings forth an unexpected lineup of non-human challenges, revealing a world where nature speaks with claws and surreptitious cunning. Imagine yourself amid the embedded grasses of the plains, or nestled against the camouflage of woodland. As you trod forward on this sacred march, your path intersects with that of creatures misunderstandingly cast as either friend or foe. Tales abound of nights shattered by the chilling cries of wolves, or was it just the wind, expertly mimicking nature's primal song? But it's not just predators that command attention. The native fauna asserts its presence through thunderous herds shadowing your trail, buffeting fragile tents with the rolling strike of hoofbeats. Within the camps at night, sleep frequently negotiates with the scurrying of rats, practicing daring raids over ration bags. As a Crusader, you quickly learn that vigilance is a skill not merely reserved for the battlefield. Whether hunkered down beside thorny scrub or resting within commandeered keeps, your senses fine-tune to the orchestra of crickets or any movement not rhythmic with your brother's breaths. Yet alongside instinct-driven survival is the ever-curious human impulse to engage, often exemplified in bizarre, almost comedic encounters. Picture a scene where knights challenge each other to capture an elusive local lizard, which in their extravagant imaginations has taken on mythical attributes. The result is a merry chase, warriors swatting grasses more than scaling reptiles, laughter pealing over fields as combatants tumble in jest. In these lighter moments, where chase trumps conquest, a more intimate camaraderie among ranks emerges. Historians still argue whether these animal interactions affected campaign outcomes, but the influence on morale, often through laughter or confused delight, is undeniable. Encounters might even take on legendary proportions, as rumours of fantastical beasts filter through, igniting both fear and fascination. Imagine the whispered tales when a travelling minstrel crafts the story of a local legend, a fearsome griffin, spotted soaring over distant hills, and the resulting buzz as the credulous among you vie for glimpses through low-rolling clouds. But you do well not to overly romanticize these interactions. Living creatures are often arbiters of disease, pestilence furrowing trenches into lines of healthy soldiers. The potential of fleas and mites to compromise the strongest defenses strikes disconcerting precedents within the corridors of medieval medicine. Their diminutive forms render them silent harbingers, crafty carriers positioning themselves for maximum impact, teaching humility where strength often reigns supreme. Interactions with wildlife thus oscillate between playful leisure and existential threat, a spectrum marked by mystery and inventive solutions learned through sharp experience. Tactics evolve to safeguard resources from critters driven by hunger no less fierce than any siege force. Elevated food stores and guard schedules are adapted, each pawn of application claimed amidst nature's untamed chessboard. It's in moments like these, kneeling beside a stream or bunkered within starlit expanses, that you attain a sense of Earth's vast interconnectedness. You are aware of pushing your own boundaries into regions with cultures and natural histories diverging wildly from home, whispering one truth through its diversity. Survival here remains a harmonious dance, a balance between encroachment and respect. And as day folds into night, the invisible lines drawn between nature's night watchers and your treaty-seeking eyes diminish into a mutual silence. Among the strange closeness fostered by untamed companions, there exists the primal connection, acknowledging survival beats in every breast, whether bared beneath desolate skies or sheathed in leafless forms that rustle upon the breeze. In this interplay of creature and crusader, you find the tales grow longer, narratives steeped in magic and memory. Each new sun heralds an unwritten path, promising wildlife's continued role within this legend of courage and contemplation. So, within this animated world drawn from both imagination and reality, forge onward, lest the wild elude you on a distant horizon. Remember, with each day's ascent upon the divine tapestry woven amidst fauna's footfall, there exists a legend ready to spring forth wherever the wild things roam. As the steady rhythm of your march continues, the ever-evolving narrative of the Crusader journey draws your attention to a new dynamic, unpredictable enemies and their ever-changing tactics. If you thought the Crusades were a straightforward clash of sword and shield, you'd soon find that the reality is far more complex. The adversaries you face are as varied and resourceful as the shifting sands underfoot, ensuring that each engagement holds its own brand of unpredictability. Picture yourself at the dawn of a skirmish, the horizon blurred by heat and apprehension. The enemies you confront are not only skillful combatants, but masters of adaptation, their tactics flowing like water, ever-changing and capable of surprising even the most seasoned warrior. One day's anticipation of a frontal assault could pivot unexpectedly to an ambush from the side. It's a game of strategy, wit, and sometimes pure audacity, where the stakes stretch beyond land or honor. They ripple through morale. In this high-stakes battlefield choreography, adaptability becomes your greatest ally. Your foes possess superior knowledge of the terrain and employ it with cunning, a stark juxtaposition to the Crusaders' initial reliance on brute force and overwhelming numbers. This mismatch elevates even the smallest skirmish to an intricate chess game, each side seeking the upper hand through keen observation and quick reflexes. The swift horses and agile archers of your rivals make for a formidable blend, using the landscape itself as a weapon. Imagine the sudden onset of arrows raining from hill crests, or arrows loosed from seemingly quiet thickets, The arrowheads appear as sharp punctuation to the exclamations that form your battle plan's uncertainties. It's no wonder that the impact resonates beyond the physical, striking respect, even admiration, into the heart of a Crusader. As new moons rise, a different kind of warfare reveals itself. Guerrilla tactics, used with finesse to harry supply lines, creating little ripples that grow into great waves of logistical challenges. In this war of shadows, where victories aren't always fought in the open, both resolve and resourcefulness skirt the edges of exhaustion, urging rank and file to think beyond formations and adapt to ever-shifting sands. Even amid heated conflict, the sense of curiosity isn't sidelined. Despite the threats, the Crusaders cannot help but marvel at their foes' ability to craft stories of courage and inventiveness with each clash. Historians still argue whether these shifts and feints were orchestrated mostly by necessity or as a unique martial art. Yet what remains clear is the sheer ingenuity witnessed that often rerouted the course of encounters. Take, for example, a daring raid executed under the guise of a friendly envoy, where a parley almost led to capture. A tale often retold over campfires, eliciting laughter born of relief and respect for the art of war, thrilling in its capacity to awe. Even as the unpredictability continues to weave its narrative, the common desire to glean wisdom from battles, and to impart it through animated recantations, adds new layers to the understanding of what it means to be a Crusader. As each day unfurls from skirmish-stoked sunrise to nomadic dusk, the landscape of engagement reveals an unfolding lesson not written in tactics manual. Underestimating your enemy isn't simply foolhardy, it's almost a breach in the warrior's code, illuminating the grandeur and frailty that come from seeking dominance on foreign soil. Here, intellect merges with belief, revealing the true might of an army that holds adaptability as its keystone and persistence as its rallying cry. As you lay your head to rest beneath a canvas dotted with starlight, consider the chapters penned in survival stories of valor, wherein adversaries cloak themselves with unpredictability, crafting encounters that bind wisdom to action. Under these skies, tomorrow's strategy awaits, a testament to the unyielding spirit born of respect, both for those who fight beside you and those who compel you to grow. Through unexpected lessons, resilience and cunning ignite hope, for even in warfare's grimmest corners, understanding emerges as an ally, fostering victory not just over adversaries, but also over one's limitations. Continue onward, Crusader, embracing the lessons of unpredictability with a determination tempered by respect. Through these engagements, find that each unpredictable move becomes a touchstone for growth, a beacon for the uncharted path ahead. In the relentless rhythm of the Crusader campaign, between skirmishes and strategic dialogues, a new and persistent challenge rises: logistical nightmares and supply issues. In this intricate theatre of war, where blades clash not only with enemy forces, but with the harsh reality of scarcity, keeping an army provisioned and battle-ready is a task both monumental and Sisyphean. Imagine yourself not just as a warrior, but as part of a living, breathing apparatus that demands constant nourishment, tool maintenance, and supply organization. Each dawn illuminates the breadth of this undertaking. Picture caravans of supplies snaking across the arid expanse, an armada of goods that must be carefully orchestrated to prevent bottlenecks. The lifeblood of your campaign spills from cracked vessels and sturdy carts alike, laden with the essentials: food, weapons, repair tools, clothing, and mundane but crucial spares like nails and leather patches. You learn quickly that logistics are not merely background operations. They form the essential backbone, supporting the more visible martial aspirations. Food, inherently perishable and easily compromised by weather or the logistics of transport, becomes a focal point. The bread, initially baked with care, might harden through transport, transforming into makeshift weapons more fit to club rather than consume. Salted meats, once a beloved staple, risk spoilage in the fluctuating temperatures. The hermetic vision of a preserved feast deflated by the whispered concerns of decay. Harness the power of barter and trade. Negotiation becomes an art, driven by necessity. Within distant towns or alliances, the exchange of surplus wares breeds rare chances to replenish dwindling stock, and sometimes to gain an edge in those unpredictable skirmish encounters. Your army's survival hinges on these fluid interactions, each transaction an exercise in economic strategy, facilitating survival, not just prudence. Yet, no matter how meticulous the plans, a single incident can send the fragile ecosystem of logistics spiraling. Imagine one unfortunate mishap causing a wheel cart to tip over a precarious ridge, spilling sacks of grain into ravines, or losing vital weaponry to the whims of rushing waters. In these moments, the true weight of dependence on a cohesive logistics plan becomes acutely felt, a bitter pill to swallow within the grandeur of this religious campaign. Historians still argue whether it was more calculating strategy or raw perseverance that often pulled the Crusaders through these logistical quandaries. Take heart in the common Crusaders' tales recounting creative solutions, dining upon the unpredictable but surprisingly scrumptious yields of local flora, or rallying blacksmiths within ranks to repair arms when reinforcements delayed. Ingenuity becomes both shield and sustainer, breeding inspiration that knits camaraderie tighter than any stockpiled provision. Endless planning scrambles to address never-ending shortages, every resupply and orchestration, occasionally needing to tiptoe across questionable lines of tactical requisition supplementing pieced together from both anticipated sources and the strategic generosity of newly loyal allies. Yet even dull routines invoke gentle humor. Conversations around campfires frequently slyly applaud or lampoon the latest edibles, showcasing surprising umami, or grumble over grape Doribelid libations, startlingly mimicking vinegared more than wine. Even on treacherous terrain, the trailing rumble of supply lines becomes a lonesome comfort, a humming heartbeat that strengthens resolve. It hints at persistence, a mirror to your own steadfast journey, reminiscent of the familial warmth once found seated around a home hearth. Between moments of dehydration, you acknowledge those unsung stalwarts who orchestrate the tangled web of logistics, vigorously scribing a symphony of dynamic necessity. As the sunsets stain the horizon in hues of weariness and anticipation, logistics seamlessly threads itself through the fabric of your Crusader existence, ensuring continuity amid chaos. The lessons learned stretch beyond immediate survival, fostering resilience, innovation, and a shared understanding of just how intricately campaigns are bound by management beneath the clamor of combat. In these repetitive recursions through the supply chain's intricacies, you draw fortification not merely from sustenance transported through tangible means, but through the lessons internalized from its gathered intricacies. Embrace these experiences with all their unsavory yet redeeming tales of perseverance, wisdom, intended to quench the thirst for a future illuminated with fresh resolve. So, press forward, well-rounded by this vivid tapestry of logistics woven tightly into your Crusader narrative. Anticipate the challenges ahead, informed and emboldened by past encounters. With each footfall, ground your mission anew, remembering the artistry of logistics that guides not only movement, but the journey of survival on paths unexplored. As the Crusader journey continues under the suffocating sun, you find yourself delving deeper into the vibrant, sometimes volatile relationship between war and religion, the fuel that ignites hearts and hardens steel on this long march. Beyond the clanging swords and churning dust, religion remains a fervent, omnipresent force, infusing meaning into your trials and shaping every sword stroke and tactical maneuver with a sense of divine purpose. Picture the momentous weight of faith wrapped around your campaign, carrying the echoes of sermons and holy proclamations that promised eternal salvation. Religion is both a guiding compass and a fervid storm, emboldening each stroke against adversity. As much as it serves as a motivator, the zeal carried by each Crusader is a double-edged sword, a companion in devout prayer, or a whispering provocateur urging relentless advance. It challenges your resolve with every spiritual ebullition, defeating hesitation's grip. Religion's firm grip stretches far beyond Von stages of battle, where victory is always one righteous push away or falter. Your camp echoes with passionate oratory, sermons crafted with an intent that rings loud and clarion-like through the columns of Crusaders. You can almost feel the beads of sweat forming on your brow again, as a charismatic preacher channels fervor through crafted words that seem taken from divine parchment itself, urging relentless courage amidst temptation's shadow. Yet, pilgriming along with such fervor is a dance with balance, where emotion meets the pragmatic reality faced daily. In this crucible, precisely wielded words transform faith into a malleable weapon, keeping spirits aloft against the bitter anvil of war's toll. However, an oft-hidden complexity arises, for the flames of religion are as capable of forging division as unity. The ardor and zeal that drive singular conviction sometimes border on reckless decisions, urged by fervor that overlooks calculated discernment. Historians still argue whether it was faith or pragmatism that shepherded the Crusades towards either catastrophe or conquest, but both elements intertwine like vines, each a conduit marking victory, loss, or compassionate reprieve. The blind exultation of faith could lead whole companies into untenable situations, perhaps chasing mirages rather than reliable strategic advantages. Here the context of divine favour, occasionally muddled with earthly pursuits, resulting in narratives bi-directional with both glory and turmoil entwined. As knights and commoners mingle within camp, bound by faith and the occasionally facetious jest born from shared belief, you may recognise tiny tendrils of camaraderie twining through these moments. Laughter filters over moonlit gatherings when tales of longered saints mix with stalwart companions, rosy reflections upon relic excursions gone awry. These one-liners hold potential to tickle the sternest of crusaders into laughter, where faith's light-hearted side dominates over dogmatic weight, yet faith's complexity deserves recognition beyond its motivational prowess. It serves as a tapestry interwoven with diverse worldviews, a mosaic of colours stretching across regional ethos. Crusaders, though united by a singular intent, meld their various interpretations into conversations, resulting in unsanctioned and sometimes unclear juxtapositions. An ornate kaleidoscope shaping their approach to faith's application amid service. Each individual tale gathers momentum and gains strength through shared reflection, standing as sentinels against history's encroaching shadow. But within encampment, tales are spun beyond the realm of novices and seasoned warriors. They are shared within places of sanctuary, two modest chapels laden with candles flickering at shadow's edges. Here, brave souls offer penance, pleading for providence as eyes lock onto their deity's gaze beneath whispering ack-breaths and amens. It's often within these intimate reliquaries that the true soul of a crusader emerges, undeniably intertwined with the zeal of warrior-poet and the gentle redemption of seeker-believer knit tight. Now embrace the significance of religion's woven threads and borrow the steadfastness it offers, measured in equal parts patience during trial and kindness within community. Lean on this eternal flame as you forge ahead, moving between icons and moments filled with both revelation and reconciliation offered to those intent on spiritual victory, resonating beyond the battlefield forevermore. With night dimming and stars kindling light anew, ruminate upon paths taken and choices made. For the seamless flow of both purpose and decision forms your Crusader narrative, one defined by faith's insistence and guided by humanity's deepest tie. Prepare to march yet again, your spirit under the gentle protest of dreams laden with hope, intermingled with courage, a testament to the divine and mortal blending into the tapestry of time. As the sun peaks over the horizon, casting its warm glow on the encampment, you begin another day of this storied Crusader march. While battle and faith are the blazing beats of your journey, the richness of encounters with the unfamiliar cultures that interlace with your path offer moments both candid and curiously treasured. It's within these oft-surprising cultural exchanges that you find humanity at its most vibrant, and occasionally humorously bewildering. Imagine crossing paths with villagers whose customs seem as uncharted to you as the lands themselves. It's a meeting of two worlds, where every gesture may lead to revelation or misinterpretation. Often the latter yields a cadence of laughter or chagrined apology, an embrace of the unexpected. The bounty of cultural interaction lies within these connections that bridge the divide between the known and unknown with deft curiosity. Communication, as ever, roots itself deeper than words. Consider how tone and timbre weave through impossible dialogues, where your expressive gestures serve as vessels of meaning in place of shared language. Observing your companions gesturing wildly at a well-meaning merchant, a silent dance amidst an animated exchange could easily spark amusement. Perhaps a request for shelter leads inadvertently to a dinner invitation, much to the elated surprise of your confused yet delighted hosts. Such instances leave indelible marks on the Crusader narrative, threading moments of culture shock with appreciation. You learn quickly that although your swords and shields speak one language, smiles and sincerity often bridge wider chasms. Historians still argue whether these exchanges of cultural affinity were largely positive or marked by suspicion. Yet it's undeniable that these interactions instilled tales imprinted upon personal sagas. This weaving of interactions doesn't just exist within the lively bazaars or bustling market streets. They dot the landscapes where seemingly routine tasks morph into collaborative ventures. Crafting a campfire or finding amenable pathways evolves into shared stories, offered in broken phrases, peppered with brandished miming till dawn. Here, connections burgeon beyond the transient market trade and enter a realm of shared humanity. As twilight approaches, mealtimes become festivals of exchange. Picture long trestles heavy with strange dishes, steaming pots of spiced lentils, aromatic stews laced with native herbs, and bread baked over open flames. Curiosity more than hunger drives such culinary adventuring, where crusaders garbed in shimmering chainmail mingle and sample with gusto. Intrinsically exotic aromas dance into camp as newfound friends graciously engage through flavor currency transcending tongue-tied barriers. Yet even in such harmonious mingling, misunderstandings reorganize into surprising shapes. Perhaps when honeymooners whisked away sheep from the pasture, luring innocent villagers into impromptu negotiation. Over much laughter, good cheer, and sage advice shared, these whimsical episodes redefine encounters into sagas, passed along through nights to come. Beyond language and flavour, the Crusade reveals a tapestry of sights, a stretch of art, architecture, and artifacts that extend the canvas. Reciprocity and admiration frame their presentation, the wrought iron of gates, accessible wings unfolded upon architectural marvels, sand-sculpted towers which loom above as protectors from phantasms of bygone eras. Amid towers, stories of cross-culture bloom, blurring epochs and timelines. It's art, all of it. Revelations unexpected but infinitely resonant in imagination's vibrant corridors. Ultimately, each shared moment reflects upon the entire campaign, a testament to wonder and to the interplay of lives stitched from solitary shards. With each cycle, your Crusader journey embodies the eternal, echoing across arched bridges, wrestling over riverbeds. As dusk settles, a sighing breeze gently nudges out swells of evening adventure within camp, gathering whispers on its coattails. Rest comes, gathered in dreams tasted of sweet and bitter fruit, tangled in fabric threads from cultural harvest adorned. Together they wrap you, a custodian of civilization's foundational moments, with depth beyond the surface, a gleaning of heart-soared learning to serve within expatriating legacies lingering upon pasts. Perchance their imprints remain eternal. Aim now towards a morning of fresh opportunities and shared quests, ready to pen the next blink within the unrepentant chain of meaning-making, persistent across the childhood of civilization. Explore, adapt, and grow through each dawnlit excursion, enriching the grand mosaic birthing truth, found in fellow hands reached through shared earth. March unto evenings unfurled by tomorrow's revealing promise, at the edge of kindred skies. As the crimson streaks of dawn light up the sky and another day beckons, you find yourself reflecting deeper on the subtler, yet no less daunting, trials faced by your fellow Crusaders. Amid the clangour of battle and the ethereal pull of faith, there's a whisper that threads itself into each stride, a chorus of thoughts that speaks to the psychological toll endured over years of relentless conflict. Here lies the oft-unseen burden, the quiet war within a Crusader's mind. As you trudge through yet another day's expedition, the physical fatigue wears on your muscles, but it is the mental exhaustion that becomes more palpable as days turn into weeks and weeks into years. You start to notice the gentle fray at the edges of one's resilience, stress weaving patterns into the tapestry of the mind, much like the sand grinds grooves into the march-worn soles of your companion's boot. It's a kind of erosion that doesn't involve dust and grit. It gnaws silently, threading thoughts with frailty and fortitude alike. War's constant threat looms over you like an omnipresent spectre. Even in moments of reprieve, the anticipation of the next challenge lies like a layer of sediment just beneath the surface of consciousness. The stark transition from peace to peril itself becomes a learned reflex, transforming even a simple rustle or a shadow's flicker into perceived harbingers of danger. Within this crucible, resilience and paranoia form strange bedfellows, shaping a landscape where vigilance becomes as much survival strategy as life philosophy. Fear, That once electric rush that served to heighten awareness now sows the seeds of trepidation. You witness its shadow stretching across camp discussions, a shared malaise that often leaves even the most devout searching for reassurances beyond iron walls and mailed defences. It's a burden heavy enough to spark memory-mingling tongue-tales, shared narratives of bygone feasts, recounting far-off green lands, cradling whispered dreams birthed within Yule fires, and shaken apart by the thunderous calls to arms. Historians still argue whether internal strife, the shadowy presence of fear, or external events bore greater weight upon Crusader resolve. They compare anxieties festering in the hearts and minds against the physical trials recorded in venerable tomes. They explore tales recounting fissures of friendship forged beneath the unyielding eye of prolonged endurance, offering insight into strength born through support, harnessed rather than excess bravado. Fellow Crusaders become both confidants and mirrors as you traverse the emotional planes, offering solace through shared experience and silent understanding. The formation of tight-knit groups within the larger military body provides pockets of relief, little havens where humour becomes balm and wit covers weariness like a familiar blanket. It's within these personal sundrops that tales of levity emerge, gently teasing away fear's hold like recounting the slapstick encounter when a Crusader mistook a donkey for reinforcements during a vigil shadowed by Zeal. While external conflicts shadow one's peace, the internal struggle plays out quietly against the soundtrack of perpetuality. The tension lies continuously against this tensioned pull, maintaining the ardour of divine purpose and preserving personal wellness. These conflicting chords purport a melody ready for transformative echoes. Relief comes in moments when routines are formed and bonds are tightened, often through shared rituals of prayer or song that hold both tangible and mystical significance. It's in the echoes of chants rising across the camp at dusk, or the shared laughter echoing over hearthside games, recaptured within stylized Dadaism, that solace often finds new expression. Here, faith leaps unexpectedly from the pages of sacred texts and integrates directly into mortal heartstrings. As evening falls, a softer hush descends over weary bodies and minds. You settle under the starlit sky, letting the cooling night air soothe the edges frayed by another day's journey. It's in these introspective moments, a lull in the tidal flow of war, that the deeper beauty of refuge manifests. Sleep, albeit fretful at times, becomes an effort toward restoration, the mind's gentle reclamation towards a wholeness perpetually reimagined by dawn's beginnings. Gone now are the frenetic heartbeats that marked battles past. What lingers instead is a settled-in resolve, flexing arms around contemplative souls. Be prepared to embrace each dawn with the fresh resolve born from understanding resilience not as an unyielding wall, but as a canvas painted anew with the triumphs drawn from inner battles waged and won. As day folds seamlessly into another dawn, awaken renewed, grasping tightly to the connections formed amid shadows cast across time. The march's drumbeat calls forth strength, grace, and harmony, a seamless blend that emerges only when the rhythms of outloud and inside meet on peaceful terms. Through untold struggles, the Crusader's spirit carries forward, melded within collective purpose, ever driven by dreams and the indelible yarns spun from experience's unmatched loom. The sequence of days unfurls like the turning pages of an ancient tome, each dawn its own chapter in the Crusader journey. Yet amid battles and negotiations, alliances and rivalries, a shadow lurks that is less tangible but more insidious than any earthly foe: the spectre of disease. Within the claustrophobic confines of camp life, plague outbreaks become a grim reality, playing havoc with ranks and spirits alike. These scourges do not brandish swords or wield strategies. Instead, they seep into the fabric of existence like an unbidden ink, staining the manuscript of hopes. Imagine the shiver of unease that courses through your camp as the first hints of illness ripple quietly, festering beneath the day-to-day hubbub. Daily routines are nascently punctured by sudden fevers or coughing fits, and then, like wildfire, the affliction spreads, sowing fear and uncertainty. It's an invisible enemy, an equal opportunity scourge that respects neither rank nor station, toppling stalwart warriors alongside seasoned leaders. You realize quickly that disease is the ultimate leveler, indiscriminate in its reach. As the spectre of plague grips the camp, its presence pervades the senses. The once familiar scents of cooking fires and borrowed earth are replaced by the staleness of makeshift infirmaries, where the sick lie in rows, their laboured breathing forming a weary chorus. Each cough ricochets through the tense air, a metronome to which every heart beats a little faster. Every prayer is whispered fervently, and every remedy, no matter how implausible, is tried. Medical knowledge during this time treads uncertain ground, balancing on the precipice between superstition and burgeoning empirical methods. Within this tenuous framework, healers and charlatans alike are thrust into prominence, offering remedies that span the spectrum from hopeful tinctures brewed from local botanicals to bizarre concoctions that seemingly owe more to the realm of mystical imaginings than to science. You might even recall stories of a particularly pungent poultice concocted from mud and herbs, rumoured to ward off morbidity, yet the skeptics among you likely chalk it up to wishful improvisation. Historians still argue whether the understanding of disease transmission was more proactive or reactive. Yet all can agree that the efforts to stem outbreaks were as varied as they were desperate. It's during these outbreaks that the fabric of Crusader society is laid bare, exposing both its strengths and vulnerabilities. The cry for divine intercession blends with calls for quarantines, echoing through the air thick with the promise of miraculous cures alongside more practical measures. Amidst these health crises, there emerges a curious paradox. The presence of disease also begets resilience. You witness fellow Crusaders rise to the challenge, camaraderie strengthened by necessity, and the tapestry of human experience enriched by the stories that follow. There's a peculiar humour that sometimes arises, an absurdity that finds a way to thread itself through even the most dire circumstances, like the time when a knight attempted to charm spirits away with an impromptu dance, inadvertently providing a moment of comic relief that rippled through the ranks. As you gather around the communal fires, recounting the day's tribulations, there's a shared understanding that each Crusader weaves a part of the collective armour against this invisible foe. Through this unified spirit, tales of endurance and encouragement surface like buoys in a choppy sea, providing both solace and strength. Whether it's the recollection of a shared meal or the memory of a healer's gentle touch, each narrative serves to bridge the rift between the harshness of current trials and the promise of future light. With each passing outbreak, you glean insight, learning that survival isn't merely about resisting the physical affliction, but rather fostering a mindset steeled against despair. You carry forward the lessons etched into your consciousness. The tenacity of spirit, the embrace of humility, and the recognition that the path to healing often manifests in unexpected ways. As the whispers of illness gradually recede, the world outside your encampment beckons with its familiar call. Just as the sun rises once again over the horizon, you find renewed purpose within yourself, ready to step forth, fortified by the experiences shared and shaped within these crucibles of existence. As this chapter closes, an understanding settles within you, that strength is both found and forged in the face of adversity, binding individuals into an unyielding tapestry of resilience. Your spirit, alight with courage, and the enduring trust you've fostered guides you on the march toward each new sunrise, undeterred, unwavering, and united in purpose. As the sun hangs high in the expansive sky, painting the landscape in shades of determination and perseverance, you approach a pivotal moment in the epic saga that is your Crusader journey. The return home and the adjustments that inevitably follow. The prospect of returning to the lands and lives you left behind brings with it its own tapestry of emotions. Anticipation, relief, and a shadowed thread of uncertainty. How do you return unchanged when the world has transformed you on every level? Picture the journey homeward, each step retracing paths once teeming with expectation, now softened by the weight of experiences etched deep. The camaraderie you've cherished, forged through the fires of battle and the whispers of illness, now rises around you like a tide of nostalgia. Its gentle lap against the shores of your reality, a reminder of both the challenges conquered and the memories made timeless. Yet, the end of the crusade is just the beginning of another chapter, a reintegration into the familiar tapestry of home, itself irrevocably altered by the passage of time's agile fingers. The villages you left have grown in your absence, echoing with new stories, new faces, and the reiteration of timeless narratives spun from birth, loss, and change. Historians still argue whether returning Crusaders were welcomed as heroes or as unfamiliar shadows of their former selves. bearing stories that teeter on the precipice of belief. As you draw near to the familiar borders of your homeland, trepidation may accompany your steps. Each footfall forward unravels a psychological pilgrimage, whispering questions of belonging and acceptance. What stories to share? Which silences to keep? How do you reconcile the heartache of loss with the yearning for stability, the joy of adventure with the relief found in constancy? Each moment relived in memory now serves as a fingerprint upon the greater canvas of your identity. Homecoming becomes laden with laid reunions. As you step through city gates and farmstead thresholds, warm embraces offer solace, while hesitant eyes search for traces of the loved one who walked away so many years ago. Happy tears intermingle with the somber acknowledgement of absence, tales silent in their expanse, held close to the tapestry of love and loss woven by distance and devotion's enduring tether. Settling into the rhythm of daily life poses its own unique challenges. You find remarkable comfort in the mundane, an understated routine that whispers normalcy through familiar chores. Yet there exists an inner dialogue, a soft murmured yearning for the spectacle of bygone deserts, resonant cities, and the friendships that span the edges of night. Dreams echo with marching feet, bathed in the starlight of belief's colours, as you reconcile two worlds, dwelling beneath a single sky. Now prosperity reignites various vocations, inking words into priestly sermons, forging steel in the blacksmith's flickering fires, or stacking sheaves of harvested grain in barns deserving of future echoes. These labours bind, but they also linger with a loving gaze across seasons. But remember the call of camaraderie, those evenings devoted to the softer glow of hearthside reminiscence. Here, among friends and family eager to savour tales that transcend the shimmer of armour and grit of battle, recollections transform into an inspired sharing of epics cradled within the cradle of kinship. In the quiet moments of self-reflection, permit solace a chance to unfurl. Relinquish urgency and embrace tranquility's tender hand, a whispering guide inviting you to embrace life whole and unmeasured. Moulded by these lessons you carry from travels now concluded and adventures still unfurling. In this gentle sojourn, let time reassure you. The life you continue to write blossoms still. The early ambitions quenched within each sacred stride of history's interplay resonate through each deed, no longer a mere crusader of sword-bearing renown, but now a traveller whose narrative spans beyond battles into the pages of peace, redemption, and limitless rebirth. And thus, evening wraps the world in a soft embrace of shadows, and you recline into the sustenance of well-earned repose. Close your eyes, feel the gentle cadence of breath, and allow memory's lull to guide you onward. The unbroken rhythm of hope reconciles future and past, until the new dawn beckons and narratives weave eternally. With calm assurance and softer pacing, remember the echoes of your journey's truth. Drift lightly, reassured that courage and humanity guide every footfall, enchanting both storyteller and dreamer alike. From desert crossings to tranquil hearth, your stories continue to live. As sweetened lullabies whisper serenity into each tender heartbeat, know that this chapter closes, yet dreams dance, igniting the tapestry of seasons entwined by the soulful voyaging of an enduring Crusader spirit. Greater than, greater than, greater than. End of script. Sweet dreams. Back in the comforting embrace of familiar surroundings, you find yourself delving into a curious postscript to your Crusader experiences. Baffling relics and the rewards they carry. This new chapter of exploration is less about resolute marches and more about the strange artifacts of history and devotion that now punctuate your existence. Each relic, each piece of precious loot acquired or awarded during your travels holds a story, an imprint of shared history and awe. Imagine a room filled with ornate treasures, trinkets recovered in the heat of battle, kissed by the sands of foreign lands, and brimming with mythical significance. These objects, often possessing luster beyond their physical form, are believed to hold traces of the divine or echoes of ancient power. Each piece stands as a testament to both the scope of your journey and the stretch of its intangible impact upon your soul. The assortment of relics holds as much variety as your brethren who stood beside you in battle. Perhaps there's a fragment of an old cross, said to be embedded with holy magnanimity, or a shard of pottery thought to trace its lineage to biblical times. The aura that surrounds these artifacts transcends their form, as miles trodden and battles waged have imparted upon them a poetry distinctly Crusader. Ownership or proximity to these relics is believed to confer blessings or prosperity, an allure that tugs at the hearts of those who peer upon them. Historians still argue whether these pieces truly retain divine influence or merely represent valiant brands of spiritual marketing, though seeker after seeker will voice tales of miraculous interventions brought forth by proximity alone. In the gentle shadows of candlelit discussions, you remember stories of spectacular reward, each artifact presented as the climax of your group's shared adventure. Certain relics find their way into stories told at gatherings, presented as physical manifestations of divine journeys, eternal reminders of path chosen and sovereignty won. They validate the trials faced, encapsulating intangible experiences within forms cradled by glass and gilded frames. Yet along this fascinating path lies the allure of the apocryphal, a playful delight and an ever-present fragrance of skepticism. Tales bloom wild where the mundane and mystic collide, with relics transforming into catalysts for imaginations leaping beyond reality. One fragment, rumoured to be an apostle's grizzled beard, might find itself swapped amid sombre tavern whispers for a more authentic piece in days to follow, heralding enthusiastic claims of faith's tangible power. It is in such narratives that the relics offer deeper truths, of the power of belief and the story each Crusader spins around these artifacts. For every relic, genuine or questionable, serves another purpose, a conversation point that transcends its shape and inspires deeper contemplation and unity, sustaining shared identity beyond the moment of acquisition. Remember the tongue-in-cheek revelation when a knight shared the anecdote of seeing the same relic hairlocked twice within the same vibrant village. As you weave these historical threads into the intricate fabric of your life, you discover that stories are often cherished as much as the relics themselves. They soften over time into community folklore, breathing alive upon curious lips who seek adventure delivered through traditional hearthside rumour. And so, as evenings wrap your world in comfort and shadows deepen around campfire gatherings, you embrace the luminous delight of these shared treasures. With each story recounted around communal hearths, you contribute to a continuum of memory, one that transforms objects into more than material connections, opportunities for reflection and gentle joy. Step forward with an understanding that countless tales linger unspoken, encrypted within the relics themselves, waiting for the devoted gaze to draw out whispered significance of humanity's perpetually questing soul. As your own story unfurls, anticipate these cherished relics now, as beacons lighting the course toward exploration's edge, where wonders persist just beyond thresholds woven by an ever-evolving tapestry. Embrace the continued journey as new stories emerge upon paths less trodden, beckoning earnest travellers time and time again beneath an ever-gracious sky. Back in the tranquil echoes of home, with the journey of the Crusade still fresh in your mind, there emerges a new chapter to explore, the saintly legends and myths that have intertwined with the hard facts of your adventure. These tales, born from the crucible of conflict and faith, spin narratives that blur the lines between history and the miraculous. Imagine the stories that have begun to circulate, tales that elevate the ordinary deeds of mortals to the realms of the divine. In this land of fervent belief, it doesn't take long for feats of bravery to morph into legends replete with divine intervention. A knight rescuing a fallen comrade might be recounted dramatically, perhaps with the timely aid of an angelic figure guiding his sword. So begins the transformation of mundane heroics into tales that shimmer in the imaginations of listeners gathered around firesides. As you lean into the storytelling, you realize that these legends serve multiple purposes. They are at once a vessel for cultural cohesion, an embodiment of the values held dear, and a means to preserve the memory of events. These stories expand into vibrant tapestries, each thread spun from kernels of truth and the hues provided by storytellers' embellishments. You hear the same story, retold with subtle differences, a new colour weaved here, a gleaming detail there, each variation offering its own message of hope, courage, or divine justice. The myths that grow from Crusader tales often elevate their subjects to saintly status, weaving hagiographies from threads of history. Take, for instance, the ever-popular tale of the knight who vanquished an entire battalion through divine inspiration, a story repeated enough that historians still argue whether it draws from kernels of fact or whether it's a masterpiece of medieval myth-making. Such narratives inspire aspirants and lend pride to communities, knit into the hearts of those who dream of becoming part of them. These saintly legends often turn mortals into intermediaries for divine acts, and the halo they wear is as much about belief as it is about reality. They serve to delight and instruct, their plots conveying allegories of righteousness, vindication, and conviction that blur the line between spiritual and earthly realms. Their characters, sometimes larger than life, perform deeds that echo through time, even to our present day. As you gather around the evening's fireside, the warmth blending with the cadence of spoken tradition, recall the tale of the Crusader who reportedly communed with a saint in the desert, guided by the spirit on paths hidden to mortal eyes. Alternatively, some stories hearken to the miraculous survival of an outnumbered band, their defiance written in stars and whispers told to the sand. Though these events grow more grandiose in retelling, each kernel of possibility ignites a flame of faith, a reassurance that the divine watches over even the most desolate soul. Historians still debate the fine line where history ends and legend begins, pondering how accounts of saints, both real and fictional, have grown and reshaped through the years. What they agree upon is that these stories offer significant insight into the mindscape of the Crusaders, how they viewed themselves, not merely as warriors, but as instruments of a divine tapestry, where each action contributed to a grander design blessed by supernatural favour. As sun dips beneath the brim of earth, and stars reign over the sky, you tuck these saintly legends and myths within the folds of your heart's journal, written upon the softened parchment of your Crusader days. In these echoes, find the eternal impressions of both divine hope and human perseverance. Carry forward these narratives beyond the immediate horizon, knowing they join the legacy of shared mythology. Whether weaved from wonder or wielded as wings, they serve as remembrances of virtues embodied through time. With each retelling, imbue the hands of listeners and your own within stories that shape history and fade not with the page's edge, but perpetuate with the whispers of ancient tongues beneath an embracing sky. As you settle back into the rhythm of a life less steeped in daily battle, but now awash in reflection, you find yourself peering into the economic ripples left by the sweeping drama of the Crusades. Beyond the clash of swords and the haloed tales of saintly deeds, a different kind of conquest unfolded, the plunder and economic impact that reshaped landscapes and lives with subtle yet profound echoes. Imagine standing among a treasure trove of goods that traversed routes along with weary crusading feet. The spoils of war were not just in stories or symbols of divine favour, but tangible materials and riches that changed hands, influencing economies far more broadly than the immediate theatre of war might suggest. Artifacts of gold, relics of shimmering silver, intricate textiles and spices, all interwoven with the stories of journeys, victory and survival. Their very possessions spoke of power and prestige. As a crusader, you might return with these spoils in tow, testament to your participation and perseverance. Yet, beyond personal gain, these goods invigorated the economies back home, ushering in waves of trade across cultures and continents. Cities burgeoned into thriving marketplaces, the vestiges of the Crusades etched into the artisanal tapestries, wrought ironworks and exotic wares that filled stalls from Jerusalem to the farthest reaches of Europe. Historians still argue about the extent to which these economic exchanges fueled growth or disrupted local markets, but agree that the economic landscape post-Crusades was irrevocably changed. New trade routes opened through which knowledge and innovation flowed, mingling with the tangible goods that tantalized the palates and pouches of eager merchants and nobles. As you walk through bustling marketplaces, awash with the rich aromas of foreign spices, you note how deeply interconnected your world has become. The Crusades acted as a catalyst, intertwining cultures and economies in a magnificent mosaic that extended beyond simple conquests or defeat. The rewards of both material and cultural importance foster an ebb and flow that resonates through generations, imbuing everyday life with the textures of distant lands. Across campfires and hearths, stories of treasures unfold like the most engaging of tales. Those who couldn't embark on the Crusades still partake in their wonders, purchasing goods that tell stories all their own. Even a modest merchant can now recount tales of far-off cities and legendary markets, as goods previously unheard of become common enough to grace the tables and fashions of the medieval world. But remember that alongside these gains, the realities of plunder carried heavier consequences. The redistribution of wealth occasionally birthed envy and unrest, igniting cold fires of consequence among those who felt marginalized or excluded. Within political corridors, shifts in economic power played subtle roles in the destinies of kingdoms and empires, an invisible hand weaving complexity into the tapestry of conquest. Meanwhile, those wielding the power to commission or suppress trade learned to navigate these tumultuous waters, adapting strategies to maintain their hold on precious resources. They found themselves balancing the scales not with arms but with negotiation, skillfully interweaving their influence with New World offerings, harbingers of prosperity and challenge alike. As twilight embarks upon its own journey across your camp, and discussions around clinking cups of evening ale turn to these tales of currency crossed with consequence, note how this economic tapestry remains an indelible part of the Crusader Odyssey, not merely as background scenery, but as a powerful thread that shapes the story and legacy of your journey. Now rest with the knowledge that the wealth acquired, whether through tangible goods or timeless experience, contributes to a legacy that finds expression in both the spiritual and material realms. With each sunset, recognize the unseen hands that weave prosperity's web, tracing paths across lands united not merely through strife, but through the shared fruits of discovery and exchange. In the quiet of night, let these reflections settle, remembering the lessons held within the intertwining of fortunes. As dawn sprinkles light anew onto a world bound together by the winding roads of commerce and conversation, prepare to embrace a narrative rich in complexity, marking the latitude and longitude of Crusader impact, woven through the ages with a thread of gilded grace. With every passing dusk and dawn, as your life recalibrates from the adventures of the Crusades to the familiar rhythm of home, a new fascination emerges, one that transcends relics and riches, delving into the realm of literary works and chronicles. These creations form the enduring fabric of memory and imagination, transforming ephemeral experiences into narratives that ripple through time, inviting reflection and inspiration. Imagine the bustling heart of a medieval scriptorium, or the crowded warmth of a monk's cell, where quills dance over parchment, capturing the vivid tales spun from the Crusaders' bowstring. These chronicles are more than mere records. They are the threads that weave individual experiences into shared history. Through meticulous detail and grand storytelling, the magnitude of the Crusader expedition is etched into permanence, giving life to the tales long after the last sword is sheathed. Historians, poets, and scribes become integral figures, painting images through words that preserve the valor, folly, and mystique of the Crusader journey. Their works blend fact with folklore, creating narratives that captivate imaginations and stir the hearts of those who turn their pages. Those who didn't stand on distant battlefields are enveloped in the tale's vivid imagery, experiencing the tumultuous clash and serene devotion through ink-spattered visions. The stories chronicle more than battles. They delve into the human element, imbuing the Crusades with depth and nuance. They bear witness to the raw courage of knights and the quiet resilience of support roles, often overlooked in the immediate retellings. These texts offer insight into the broader implications, with moments of insight as historians still argue about the influence of certain figures or decisions, and poets embellish those mundane details into flights of epic adventure. Among the well-thumbed scrolls and leather-bound tomes, you find accounts that range from the scholarly to the poetic, histories that articulate tactical analyses, and ballads that breathe life into legendary heroes. It's here in these textual relics that the Crusader spirit finds its immortality, unfolding anew with every generation that dares to traverse its pages. Whether acknowledged in a court's grand hall or whispered among novices in a monastery, these chronicles serve as wielders of a narrative baton crossing time's threshold. The power of the written word conveys more than mere events. It conveys the ethos that propelled the Crusades. Themes of adventure, avarice, devotion, and divine purpose seamlessly knit themselves through prose and poem, their threads drawing readers into contemplation and dialogue, a timeless dialogue exploring motives and outcomes. They cast reflections into the souls of those who engage, asking questions of intent and consequence never fully answered. And it's not just about grand treatises. Amidst discussions held within abbeys or echoed against the crests of green hills, you hear personal anecdotes shared, tales handed down from generations, given life through the warmth of the storyteller's voice. These verbal traditions complement the written ones, lending warmth and immediacy to the epic narratives engraved across parchment pages. In evening gatherings, where histories casually share space with laughter and light-hearted banter, stories spring to life, their narrative arcs vivid in the crackling glow of fireside moments. Whether the tales explore the antics of a quick-witted squire or recount entire campaigns with clarity and colour, each retelling rises like whispers of incantation, painting fresh memories laced with homage to human ingenuity and intrepid spirit. So as you settle into a world where past and present coexist within the manifold layers of narrative and experience, recognize these literary works and chronicles as eternal torches flames that light both the path behind and the one stretching forward. Each book opened, each story retold, becomes a moment to trace the contours of history's lessons, illuminating future footprints with the clarity offered only by well-cherished words. Prepare now to carry these chronicles with you, their wisdom often hidden, yet intrinsically valuable. Within their pages lies continuity, a shared journey uplifting the quest for understanding with a collective tap of humanity's pulse, resonating boldly across time's echoing expanse. Embrace the stories they tell, legacies of an adventurous era, inviting new voyagers to ponder, explore, and transcend the horizons shaped by both the ink of history and the dreams of tomorrow. With the gentle whisper of history cradling your thoughts, the quest to understand the ripple effects of the Crusades in our modern world becomes a captivating exploration. These ancient campaigns, forged on the anvil of faith and warfare, echo still, casting long, intricate shadows across the corridors of time, touching facets of contemporary life in ways both direct and subtle. Imagine standing on a busy street corner, the cacophony of a vibrant city swirling around you, a tapestry woven with threads from every corner of history. The impact of the Crusades, though far removed chronologically, intertwines with elements of culture, politics, and identity that shape today's societal fabric. The economic shifts initiated by medieval trades established by Crusaders continue to influence global patterns of commerce, their legacies an undercurrent in the rivers of goods and currencies that flow across borders. Historians still debate the specific influences, sifting through the centuries to understand how the exchange of goods and ideas, facilitated by the Crusades, helped lay the groundwork for the Renaissance's bloom. They frame these campaigns not only as military endeavours but as pivotal junctures where cultures clashed and converged, sparking intellectual curiosity and technological advancement in ways that reverberate through modern scholarly pursuits and innovations. In the contemplation of the past, you perceive the Crusades as a narrative thread in the complex weave of religious and secular tensions that persist, occasionally surfacing in present-day dialogues and debates. The theological debates, the philosophical musings, even the political machinations of the time echo in modern discourses, offering lessons and warnings, the echoes of intentions and missteps long past, casting their shadows into today's societal challenges. The art and literature of those medieval centuries, too, have imparted their legacy upon contemporary aesthetics and narratives. The archetypes of chivalry, sacrifice, and heroism, first vividly painted for the edification and enrichment of medieval courts and cathedrals, remain vibrant in today's artistic expressions and collective imagination. Novels, films, and even video games weave this ancient ethos into immersive worlds, inviting audiences to relive battles and ponder questions of honor and moral complexity from the sheltered safety of a modern vantage. Insight into this melding of history and fiction reveals how societies continue to analyze and interpret those past events, casting them anew in the light of current values and understanding. Conversations stirred by these expressions of art and thought become bridges, linking the yearning and knowledge of then with the hopes and consciousness of now. Yet as you reflect, recognize too the opportunity for growth and reconciliation that peers through the somber lessons learned from those times. Acts of compassion, understanding, and unity increasingly replace the once prevalent rhetoric of division. Acknowledging the sorrow and triumph intertwined in the chronicles of the Crusades comprehends a pursuit of balance, seeking harmony within the increasingly interconnected global village. As daylight fades to twilight and evening settles in, pinning stars upon an ever-evolving sky, contemplate the vast continuum of human endeavor, history's resonant chorus, weaving bonds of shared narrative across lifetimes. Know that these echoes are not just reflections of what was, but living narratives poised to shape what might be. With the cradle of night drawing you toward repose, you, like a crusader of old, hold both the map of journey past and the compass pointing toward tomorrow's dawn. Let the rhythmic pulse of ages untarnished flow through the corridors of your thoughts. Stories of the Crusades, now a blended symphony of faint echoes and contemporary harmonies. Carry forward the tales imbued with wisdom both gained and gleaned across generations, illumining the way where tomorrow's dreams await fulfillment beneath the ever-embracing sky. Greater than, greater than, greater than. End of script. Sweet dreams.